Have you ever stood right in front of your own family and felt like a ghost? They said I was just a paper pusher, a nobody behind a desk. What they didn't know is that 3 nights before my brother's big day, I saved 12 lives from a kill zone. This isn't a story about medals, it's about silence, truth, and the moment it all came undone. I'm Natalie Monroe, and this is the story they never thought would be told. Ma'am, you're not on the list. The young petty officer didn't even look up at me when he said it, just tapped his tablet, double-checked, and pointed to the names glowing on the screen. David Monroe, Margaret Monroe, Madison Monroe. That was it. No Natalie. I could have said something sharp, could have demanded they call my brother or scroll down further, but I just stood there, spine locked, a still frame in a moving crowd. I already knew this moment was coming. I'd felt it in the silence of every missed phone call, every birthday text that never came. Then came the black SUV. It slid into view like it owned the asphalt. The back door popped open, and out stepped Logan Monroe. My younger brother, dressed in full navy whites, medals gleaming like stage lights, our father's golden boy, our mother's precious son. He saw me. He absolutely saw me. And he smirked. Then leaned into his wife and said, loud enough for me and the gate guard and probably half the zip code to hear, "She should have married a real officer." I didn't flinch. But inside, something cracked. Not shattered. Cracked. Quiet and deep. My mother suddenly found something fascinating about the clasp on her purse. My father looked at me like I was the one causing a scene, and just like that, they walked right past. Not a nod, not a whisper, not a glance. The petty officer shifted awkwardly. "Ma'am, I'm going to have to ask you to—" I raised my hand gently. "It's fine." I stepped aside, not because I was weak, but because something inside me had crystallized, cold, clear, and final. They wanted to pretend I wasn't here? Fine. Let them believe the lie. Let them drown in the fiction they wrote. Because the truth was about to walk through those gates, wearing 2 silver stars. They think I push papers. They think I organize charts, build spreadsheets, file memos. What they don't know is that 3 nights ago, I was deep in a windowless command room below DC, running point on a hostage rescue mission in the Red Sea, 12 lives on the line, a SEAL team poised to breach, and I made the call that saved them all. But sure, I pushed papers. I watched my family disappear through those academy gates, wrapped in their own self-made mythology, and I waited, because they thought today was Logan's ceremony. They didn't know it was mine too. My family thinks I live in a beige office, windowless, bland, probably with a motivational poster on the wall about teamwork and deadlines. In their heads, I sit behind a desk in DC, sipping cold coffee and battling Excel spreadsheets. They imagine I push paper. They don't see the room. The room is underground, triple secured, no phones allowed, no distractions, just screens. Towering walls of screens glowing with maps, data streams, satellite feeds. It hums with tension. It breathes urgency. That's where I was. The night before Logan's ceremony, Operation Kestrel was falling apart. A civilian oil tanker in the Red Sea had been hijacked, 12 hostages, including a diplomat's daughter. A SEAL team was minutes from breaching. And then I saw it. Movement. A secondary vessel approaching the stern. 6 heat signatures, unmarked. "Viper 1, hold position," I said, my voice calm, deliberate. "Confirming possible ambush, abort breach." They listened. They always listen. Because when you're the one watching everything, you don't get to scream, you get to be right. They rerouted, waited, and 20 minutes later, the trap revealed itself. My call saved them. And here's the irony. One of the SEALs in that unit used to report to Logan, my baby brother. While I was preventing his men from walking into a kill zone, Logan was texting me some half-hearted sibling sarcasm. "Hope you're enjoying the spreadsheets, sis. Don't work too hard." I didn't reply, not because I was angry, but because my silence was stronger than anything I could type. They didn't know because I never told them. And I never told them because secrecy isn't a burden, it's the job. I accepted that. Until that moment at the gate. When silence didn't feel like strength anymore, it felt like erasure. You want to know when I first realized I'd never be enough for them? 4th of July. I was 15. Logan was 13. He got his acceptance letter to the Annapolis preparatory program that summer. Not even the academy itself, just a feeder program. But you'd think he won the Medal of Honor. My dad rented a bounce house. Neighbors streamed in with lawn chairs and sparklers. My mom ordered a cake so big it took 2 people to carry it. Blue icing read, "Congratulations, future Admiral." I still remember the heat of that day. Not just the summer sun, but the warmth of every eye fixed on Logan like he was the center of gravity. That same week, I won the National Science Award. An encryption algorithm I built as a sophomore, coded from scratch in a dusty computer lab after school. I held that medal in my hand like it was the world. I gave it to my dad during breakfast. He didn't even look up from his newspaper. "Good job, sweetheart," he muttered, flipping to the sports section. "Hey, do you think Logan needs tutoring for calculus?" I stared at my cereal bowl, felt the weight of the medal in my palm. Suddenly it felt small, insignificant. I stopped trying to shine after that, not because I had no light, but because I realized they were never going to look in my direction. In our house, service only mattered if you wore the right boots. It's funny, isn't it? How one holiday, one cake, one missed glance can etch itself into your spine. How years later, I'd still feel the sting of that blue frosting and the sting of being optional. That was the moment I learned how to disappear while still being in the room. But not today. Not anymore. 2 days after the gate incident, I returned, not out of spite, not to prove anything. I came because duty called, and history was about to be corrected. The sun hung low over the Naval Academy, casting a bronze glow on the stone walkways and the families gathering for the ceremony. Same setting, same gate. But this time, I wasn't alone. A sleek black government-issued sedan glided into view and came to a stop. The back door opened with precision. Out stepped General Michael Grant, 4 stars on each shoulder, presence like gravity. His eyes found mine immediately. "There you are, Admiral Monroe," he said, loud and deliberate. "We were about to send a search party." The petty officer at the gate paled. He had denied entry to a rear admiral 2 days ago. Now he was standing in her shadow. The gate didn't just open. It flung wide like it feared for its career. General Grant turned to me and offered his arm. I didn't take it, but I walked beside him. As we passed through the entryway, he leaned in and asked, "Do you want me to talk to them?" I followed his gaze. My family, standing just beyond the fountain, frozen mid-gasp. My mother's hand clutched her pearls. My father's jaw hung open. Logan's expression flickered between confusion and disbelief. I didn't smile. I didn't wave. I just said, steady and clear, "No, I think they'll figure it out." The 2 silver stars on my shoulders caught the light, and for the first time in years, silence wasn't erasure. It was power. They gave Logan his medal first. He walked on stage like he was returning from war, head high, chest out, smile camera ready. The crowd applauded. My parents beamed. Madison dabbed at her eyes with a tissue. He thanked his commanders, his peers, his wife, and, of course, our parents. Not a word about me, not a glance. I wasn't surprised. I was erased. And yet, I sat there in full uniform, the stars on my shoulders practically humming. Then General Grant returned to the podium. He adjusted the microphone, cleared his throat. "We have an unscheduled addition to today's proceedings," he said, his voice even but unmistakably thunderous. "This recognition has remained classified until today." The room shifted, chairs straightened, heads tilted, the murmurs rolled like distant thunder. Then came the name. Rear Admiral Natalie Monroe. Time fractured. For a breathless moment, everything went still. Then the room rose. Uniform after uniform stood, heels clicking, posture rigid. Every single service member in that room honored me with their silence, their reverence. Everyone, except 3. My parents, and Logan. They stayed seated, eyes wide, mouths half open, unable to process what was unfolding. I rose, straightened my jacket, walked down the aisle with calm precision. No hesitation, no apology. General Grant pinned the Distinguished Service Medal to my chest, then leaned in and said, "It's time they heard your story." He told them, all of it. Operation Kestrel, the hostages saved. The war that never happened because one officer caught the ambush before it began. He ended with this. It was Admiral Monroe's intelligence unit that intercepted enemy communications and redirected a U.S. destroyer away from a kill zone. I looked across the crowd, found Logan. His face had gone pale. He knew which destroyer. His. The applause surged, but I barely heard it. What echoed instead was the silence. From my family. The kind of silence that doesn't come from disbelief, but from realization. This wasn't revenge. This was recognition. 6 months later, I walked into my parents' home, the same house I once left behind without a word. The air smelled like cinnamon and wood polish, just like it always had. But something was different. Against the far wall, just past the grandfather clock, and beneath the old oil painting of Annapolis Harbor, stood a new addition, a handcrafted cherry wood display case. It stopped me in my tracks. Inside were the medals, my grandfather's folded flag, Logan's commendation plaque. But right in the center, at perfect eye level, was my Distinguished Service Medal, and beside it, a photo of General Grant pinning it to my chest. I stepped closer. The frame was polished. The brass plate below read, Rear Admiral Natalie Monroe, Operation Kestrel. My mother appeared from the kitchen, a plate of cookies in her hand. He built it last month, she said quietly, nodding toward the case. Said it was time the Monroe family display told the whole story. I didn't say anything. I just looked at the medal again, this time not as proof, but as presence. It didn't need to shout. It simply stood there, in the center of it all. That night, over dinner, no one bragged, no one compared. There were no forced toasts, no backhanded compliments. Instead, my father cleared his throat. Natalie, he said slowly, how do you manage interagency coordination at that level? Must be like herding sharks. It wasn't a performance. It was interest. Genuine. Later on the back porch, the swing creaked as Logan sat beside me. He didn't speak for a while, just looked out over the yard where we used to play catch, the same yard where I learned silence. Finally, he said, I'm sorry. I looked at him. He still wouldn't meet my eyes. It was never about you, he continued. I just needed to be the hero. I needed to matter. And you were always just so far ahead. I let that sink in. Then I smiled. Not out of superiority, not from vindication, but because I finally understood. I spent years thinking I needed this family to see me, I said, to validate me. But the truth is, my worth was never theirs to give. He nodded slowly. I'm proud to be your brother, he whispered. And for the first time I could say it back. I'm proud to be your sister. Because this wasn't about proving them wrong. This wasn't about revenge. It was about something much deeper, liberation. So, if you've ever been dismissed, erased, or underestimated, this story is yours too. Drop a key emoji in the comments if you've ever had to unlock your own worth. And subscribe to Echoes of Life for more stories of silent heroes who finally get heard. I didn't need their applause. I didn't even need their apology. All I ever wanted was to stop disappearing in the very room I stood in. And now, my story stands tall, right in the center of their home. If you've ever been overlooked, silenced, or underestimated, know this: your value doesn't depend on who sees it. It depends on how deeply you own it. Drop a key emoji in the comments if you've ever had to unlock your own voice. And if this story spoke to you, subscribe to Sweet Revenge, Happy Ending, where quiet strength gets its moment, and every ending is earned.